For decades, one of the most versatile trees in the world quietly disappeared from serious agricultural conversations in the West. Not because it stopped working, but because entire industries shifted toward petroleum, synthetic chemicals, and centralized food systems. Long before that shift, farmers knew this tree as a complete survival plant. Its seeds produced lamp oil and machine lubricant. Its leaves were used in traditional medicine. Its young shoots and flowers were eaten as food, and the remaining biomass fed animals and fertilized fields. The tree is moringa, and once you understand what it can do in a garden ecosystem, it becomes difficult to ignore. Most gardeners have no idea how productive a single moringa tree actually is. A mature moringa tree can produce several hundred seed pods per season under warm conditions. Each pod contains seeds rich in oil, protein, and compounds with strong antimicrobial properties. The leaves, which grow rapidly and continuously, are one of the most nutrient-dense plant foods known. They contain high levels of calcium, potassium, iron, and vitamins that rival many cultivated greens. What makes moringa unusual is not just the nutrition, it is the speed. In warm climates, the tree can grow several feet in a single season, and when pruned aggressively, it behaves less like a traditional tree and more like a perennial vegetable system. That's where gardeners start seeing the real advantage. If deeper practical guides like this interest you, the In the Beginning email list linked in the description shares additional experiments, soil-building systems, and regenerative gardening techniques. It's also where tools used in these projects are listed. Two that consistently outperform the rest are the Epica countertop compost bin and the Vivor compost bin. Both ferment kitchen scraps without odor and produce microbe-rich compost material that dramatically accelerates soil fertility. The links are in the description if you want to check them out or order one, and using them helps support the channel so these experiments can keep happening. You know, the real power of moringa shows up when you stop growing it like a tree. Most gardening guides recommend planting moringa and just letting it grow tall, but honestly that approach misses the point completely. If you allow the tree to shoot upward without pruning, it becomes difficult to harvest and produces fewer tender leaves. Serious growers actually treat moringa more like a coppice tree or a perennial leafy crop. Once the plant reaches about 3 feet tall, the main stem can be cut back to around 18 inches. That pruning, well, it forces the tree to branch aggressively and produce multiple growing points. Within just a few weeks, those branches begin producing dense clusters of leaves. So instead of a tall tree, you end up with a compact leaf factory that can be harvested repeatedly throughout the growing season. The leaves alone can turn a small garden into a nutrient powerhouse. Fresh moringa leaves have a mild flavor, somewhere between spinach and watercress. In many regions, they're cooked the same way as kale or chard. For gardeners trying to produce highly nutritious food in limited space, moringa provides an incredible return per square foot. A well-managed tree can produce several pounds of edible leaves every month during active growth. The leaves can be eaten fresh, dried for powder, or added to soups and stews. Drying the leaves is particularly useful for long-term storage. When dried properly in shade with good airflow, the leaves retain most of their nutrient content and can be ground into a green powder that stores for months. The seeds are where fuel and water purification enter the conversation. Moringa seeds contain an oil that has been used for centuries as lamp fuel and lubricant. The oil burns cleanly and stores well because it resists rancidity better than many vegetable oils. While most backyard gardeners won't be pressing oil at scale, even a small harvest can demonstrate the principle. A simple manual oil press can extract a surprising amount of oil from a bucket of dried seeds. The remaining seed cake has another interesting use. When crushed and mixed with water, compounds in the seeds cause suspended particles to clump together and settle. This natural coagulation process has been used in many parts of the world to help clarify drinking water. The tree also produces one of the most underrated organic fertilizers. Moringa leaves contain growth hormones known as cytokinins, When the leaves are blended with water, they create a foliar spray that many growers use to stimulate plant growth. The process is straightforward. Fresh leaves are blended with water at roughly a 1:10 ratio. The mixture is strained and diluted further before spraying on plant leaves. Gardeners often notice stronger leaf color and faster recovery from transplant shock when this solution is used sparingly. It's not magic fertilizer, but the hormonal compounds can encourage more vigorous growth. In a backyard garden, moringa becomes part of a closed fertility loop. The fastest way to see moringa's full value is to, integrate it into a small garden system. The leaves feed people, the pruned branches become mulch, and the remaining biomass feeds compost. When combined with active composting systems, the nutrient cycle accelerates dramatically. Kitchen scraps, moringa trimmings, and garden waste break down into compost that feeds the next round of crops. That's where fermentation-based compost systems become extremely useful. Containers like the Epica countertop compost bin and the Vivor compost bin allow kitchen scraps to ferment quickly without odor, creating biologically active material that speeds up composting. Adding that material to garden beds introduces dense microbial life, which improves soil structure and nutrient cycling. In other words, the tree feeds the compost system, and the compost system feeds the garden. Hydroponic growers can still benefit from the biology behind moringa. While moringa itself is not typically grown inside hydroponic systems, extracts from its leaves have been tested as plant growth stimulants in controlled agriculture. Small amounts of diluted leaf extract added to nutrient solutions can introduce natural growth regulators that influence plant development. Results vary depending on crop type and concentration, but honestly, many growers report improved root activity and leaf expansion when used carefully. The key is moderation. Hydroponic systems already deliver precise nutrients, so extracts should be diluted heavily to avoid disrupting nutrient balance. The biggest mistake gardeners make when trying moringa. Many people plant a moringa seed and then forget about it. Without pruning, the tree grows tall and leggy and eventually becomes difficult to manage. Regular cutting transforms it into a productive system. Every pruning cycle encourages new branches and more leaf production. The harvested material becomes food, mulch, or compost input. Another mistake is planting the tree in poor soil and expecting miracles. Moringa tolerates rough conditions, but like any productive plant, it responds dramatically to fertile soil. Adding compost, maintaining moisture, and encouraging soil biology produces a far more productive tree. What this tree really represents in a modern garden. Moringa isn't just another exotic plant to experiment with. It represents an older approach to agriculture, where plants served multiple roles at once. Food, fuel, medicine, fertilizer, and livestock feed all came from the same species. That kind of efficiency is rare in modern monoculture systems, but incredibly valuable in small-scale gardening. When one plant provides several resources, the entire garden becomes more resilient. The deeper lesson for gardeners who want independence. Plants like moringa remind us that the most powerful tools in gardening are often biological systems rather than purchased inputs. A well-chosen tree can produce food, improve soil fertility, and support other crops all at the same time. When those systems are combined with active composting, microbial soil life, and careful observation, the garden becomes far more productive than most people expect. If guides like this help you rethink how your garden works, subscribe to In the Beginning and share the video with another grower who wants to push their soil and food production further. Real gardening progress comes from understanding systems that work with nature rather than constantly fighting against it.